The world is increasingly marked by uncertainty and shifting sands. And in that world, businesses are looking for different and innovative ways to expose themselves to new opportunities. They're doing that by taking advantage of the flexibility and speed that strategic partnerships have to offer. Whether that's to respond to industry disruptors, to work in new ways to keep up with or ahead of the competition, or to capitalize on complementary strengths of different industry players. I think it's fair to say that the rise of strategic partnerships is challenging the preeminence of M&A as a way to enter new markets or channels, and is doing it in a very exciting way. We see businesses now willing to give up total control of a venture in order to grasp other opportunities. So for example, we often see companies teaming up with their industry peers and rivals and using strategic partnerships to build scale, for example, or perhaps to protect their business models from higher costs or potential disruptors. So in the retailing sphere, we are seeing a number of retailers entering into joint purchasing alliances in order to do just that. Other companies, however, are moving away from the traditional joint ventures, the horizontal cooperation at their level of the market, and rather are looking to pool their skills to enter into new markets or new channels. For example, we see foreign retailers teaming up with Chinese tech platforms to bring about whole new retailing opportunities in China. We also see companies collaborating in order to develop and share new technologies, such as the Ford and Volkswagen Global Alliance for Commercial Vehicles and New Services. A few tips to consider when you're thinking about doing a deal of this type. Assess your regulatory risk early. There's no point in continuing unless you're fairly confident you can get the necessary clearances. Many more strategic alliances or partnerships than you think may require merger approval. This can even be required if you or your partner hold a non-controlling stake in the venture. Similarly, if you're in a regulated industry, such as media or telecoms, financial services, then you almost certainly will need some level of approval, and that could even be if you're holding a minority stake in the venture. Secure your influence in the venture. Generally, in joint ventures, governance rights between industry players have traditionally followed the economic contribution they've each made. But in the new world of alliances between startups and established industry players, for example, founders will generally expect to retain significant influence. But either way, make sure the governance provides effective checks and balances while not getting in the way of being able to run the business effectively. You need to think carefully about how you're going to incentivize your key talent. The people that you will have in this joint venture or this partnership will need to be personally aligned to the partnership's specific objectives. Otherwise, you may find that their interests are not properly joined with those of the partnership itself. Early collaboration on these topics is essential, and you may even need to remove these people from their existing incentive arrangements within one side of the partnership or the other. Secure your IP and data. Generally, partners think very carefully about what happens to tangible assets that go into alliances. But often, not enough thought is given to what happens to intangible assets, such as intellectual property and data. Focus clearly and clearly define what IP is going into a venture, what will happen to IP developed in the venture, and then what happens to both of those categories if and when the venture comes to an end. That'll avoid disputes during the life of the venture and perhaps more importantly, after it. And don't forget to plan for tomorrow. Usually strategic partnerships are time limited, either by a specific period or by however long it's going to take to achieve its key objectives. It's important to plan upfront for how either of the partners is going to exit, either at that point or even before then. What could bring that venture to an end? How do you define it? And what happens then is critical to get right up front.